My name is Carrie. I just started teaching for VIP Kids, and I very much appreciated all the YouTube videos I could find. And since my experience is a little different, I thought I should share it too, just to help anybody that might also be looking into it. So a lot of teachers get into this, and it is their full-time job. They teach a lot of hours. I'm in a little different position, and I feel very grateful for it. I just wanted to help bring in a little extra income. And so my goal was never to work 3, 4, 5 hours every day. So most of the advice out there is how to book yourself and pretty much book yourself solid. And so a lot of the advice is, open up your schedule, mark the 24-hour button so that they can book you anytime within that 24 hours, which I do think is good advice to get going. However, if you don't want to be up every morning and your goal is not to work a lot of hours, I have a little different advice. So I did do that, and I ended up, when I first started teaching, onesie, twosie, because where I live, the peak time for hours is really early. So I couldn't open all my peak hours and survive as a human or a mother or even a VIP kid teacher. So I did open a few hours on all the days like was suggested. And I even took the 24-hour box. Well, what ended up happening was I immediately got one for the next morning. And, but then I had one. So I was getting up really early to teach one class. And when you're new, if you're not opening a bunch of peak hours, that's probably pretty typical. And then after you've taught a few trial classes, you'll start to get more. However, that's another tip, I think. So I like having trial classes under my belt. It did help me feel like I knew how to work the system, the computer system. I understood what kind of props and things I needed to be able to work in my online classroom better. And I would suggest doing one trial and maybe giving yourself some space before you start another trial, the half-hour block possibly, if you're like me. Some people are gung-ho and they just get in there and they are happy to do as many, however, whenever. So if you're like that, then disregard this advice. But if you maybe are more of a planner, like me, and you like to know what to expect or what is going to happen or how to do it before you jump in with both feet, my suggestion would be to open up your schedule and maybe give yourself some time in between if you're just trying to get your feet wet and maybe you don't want to be book solid. Now, that being said, within the second week, you will start getting booked for major courses, which again, you have to learn how to do it. It's not as hard to learn once you've done a bunch of trial classes. I personally like the trial classes. I know some teachers don't, but I have enjoyed both trial because you get paid a little extra, especially if they sign up. And I really just like the kids. They are adorable. And each one's so different. You have to figure it out. So my advice, to sum it up again, would be to not open up everything. Open up the days that you are capable. Like if you open up like I did, which is common recommendation, I opened up my whole week because I thought, oh, I won't feel it. So, I'll just teach here and there. But what happens is you get one class Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, a bunch on Saturday, and then Sunday as well. And then you end up getting up early every day. Now, if that's your goal, great. but I only wanted to work, maybe 3 or 4 days a week. Well, so open up those 3 or 4 days and decide, and you can change your schedule at any time. But I would suggest just opening up those 3 or 4 days with the hours you're willing to work. And when you are new, I would check the 24-hour box if you know you can get up. And you're willing to get up to check and make sure or see that you do have a student or do not. Let's say that you have opened your schedule and you end up with one day that only has one class. To me, I would much rather at least teach 2 or 3, since I can't open my schedule as much since the peak hours are too early. So I would suggest, if you have one class, to make it worth your effort, the night before, check the 24-hour box on any of your remaining slots that you have open. And usually I will end up with at least a trial class in 1, if not 2 of those spots. And that just makes it more worth it for me to get up and do it when you're new. Then when you start filling up with major classes, you end up with less slots available. But when you're starting, that's what I would also do the night before. Check if you only have one class scheduled. Then if you haven't ticked the 24-hour boxes, I would at that time, and I almost always will at least get one other class. Last bit of advice, get a referring teacher. Mine helped me so much. In fact, she still does. She's great. And so if you want help and you have questions, I would get a referring teacher. And there are lots of teachers. They have a huge amount of teachers. So there are lots of us. And get their code, and they will email you and talk with you and help you. And it is by far the best thing I did was get a referring teacher.